Purpose is figureoutable. It's not an easy task, but it's a very doable one. And it doesn't actually require a ton of time, but it does require deep thought, just like figuring out your mission, which I cover in another topic. But for purpose, there's usually kind of like two key phases. Not that there can't be more. There's kind of two key periods. There's the often like first, whatever half of life you want to call it. Could be through our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s even, where we're very self-oriented. We're just trying to figure out us and our life. And this isn't everybody. Some people identify a purpose in their teens, like the Greta Thunbergs of the world, and they just go all in. But for most of us, we kind of go through this very selfish, self-centered, self-oriented period where we're just trying to figure out what makes us happy and do the things that we want to do and figure out how to live happily, joyfully, be fulfilled. We chase a lot of things, from stuff to travel to experiences to brands, trends, fashion. We are figuring ourselves out. We're playing and exploring the world to see what matters to us. And usually, most of us kind of enter another phase when we feel like we've done a lot of that or enough of that, where we either have a solid sense of self and we're asking what else, or we get this creeping feeling about wanting to contribute to something greater. And it's not that that feeling can't percolate in our teens, 20s, 30s. The question is just where we decide to focus our time and energy and resources, money, etc. And a lot of us hit that phase once we've started working. We might have a family, or some people realize it when something really difficult happens in life, like someone dies. They have their own kind of near-death experience or some medical issue, or they have kids and they start to realize like, oh man, like there's more happening in this world. I have to think about their futures. So it doesn't always have to be a triggering event, but oftentimes there are things in life that happen that start to push us in the direction of thinking about what more are we contributing and how we can contribute to something greater than just ourselves. Because humans are social animals. We're not designed to be singular, solo, isolated beings. And the purpose question, I can't say for everyone, but I will say for almost all, since I've talked to a lot of people who have figured out their purpose, or I've helped them figure out their purpose, is there's often a pretty clear connection between what guides our self-discovery period, our self-oriented, selfish, self-centered period, and then what we ultimately realize we need to do for ourselves. Because the things we decide or feel that we need to solve for in our lives is usually the thing that we end up obsessing over and spending a lot of energy on, that we get to a certain level of understanding or mastery or knowledge and wisdom that then we're like, oh, we want to share this with others. We've learned so much. We want to, or this has helped me so much. I want others to have this same feeling. And so the shift really is just from wanting to do it for yourself to then having done enough for yourself to realize you can do it for others or want to do it for others. I'll share an example. I'll share mine. I couldn't have put the words to it when I was 10, 15, 20, even maybe 28, 34. But now I can, which is when I was in my self-oriented, self-centered period of life, when I was figuring out who I was, what mattered to me, what life I wanted to live, how I wanted to live it, I was trying to figure out a lot of the things I've mentioned: fulfillment, joy, happiness, stability, security, financials, like all those things. But in short, what really drove me was, what is this all for? What is the meaning of this life? Why I can try all these experiences and then I would like come back and be like, okay, but what does that amount to? And I was always wondering, what does this amount to? I could take this job. If I do it for 2 more years, 3 more years, 5 more years, what does this amount to? And I was always questioning that in my life, because I started thinking about this when I was really young, because I saw my mom, who was a single parent, who was an immigrant in a new country, who was the sole breadwinner, like had to figure out so many things in raising a kid. And I was constantly looking at her and evaluating, like, wow, like you're so stressed and anxious all the time. What is the meaning of your life? What are you here to do? Like, you say it's to create financial security and raise me, but what about you? Like, you seem so unhappy. Like, this can't be what a good life entails. And so from then on, because it was so apparent to me that it didn't seem like my mom was living a good, happy life, that I wanted that for me. And I was obsessed with figuring out, what does a good, happy life entail? How do I get that? And now at 41, I can put simpler words to it, which I was trying to clarify purpose for myself and then live it for almost 15, 20 years, more like 20 plus years. I thought my purpose was to work in sports and grow basketball and bring like the beauty and joy of basketball like to the masses and help people enjoy it and celebrate it and engage with it. And I had every dream job. And eventually it was kind of like, now what? Then what? Like, what does that amount to? Cool, I've had every possible dream job. Maybe not every possible one, but I've had pretty much all the dream companies I've wanted. Now what? And that's when, in my 30s, probably right when I started to hit my early 30s, like it started to shift to be like, okay, like what am I contributing to the world? What else can I do for other people? How can I be a value add? How can I have an impact? And I didn't squarely make the shift into that work until I was about like 35. But I spent a few years thinking about it, transitioning into doing more of the purpose-driven work. And now, like, my focus is helping people figure out their purpose and their mission and what they're here to do. Even though I tried a ton of things, and at some point I might have said, like, basketball is my passion, sports are my passion, that's what I'm here to, like, be in the business of or in the realm of, that it wasn't actually the core thing. The core thing was me figuring out what meaning there was in my life. When I am on my deathbed, like, what is a meaningful, well-lived life going to entail? And how will I have known that I lived well? And that was actually the question I was obsessed with, which in short is purpose. What are we here to do? Why are we on this planet? And if I split the period of self-focus and self-orientation to now orientation on the collective of other humans, before it was finding and clarifying my purpose and living it. And as I lived it more and more, I realized, oh, the living of it is actually sharing, finding the clarity with other people, the beauty of it, the impact of it, not only on ourselves, but for everyone else. Because when we realize our purpose in the collective sense, outside of ourselves, it's always to serve other people. It's never to continually serve ourselves. And so I hope you'll take some time, not just in one moment, but it'll have to percolate over time, to think about what you think you're here on this planet to do. Doesn't have to be a singular thing, but just start thinking about, what would a meaningful life look like for you? What would you having the impact you want to have feel like? What problems do you feel drawn to in this world? What visions do you have about what a better world could look like? For me, seeing my mom and how much she struggled and seemingly how unhappy and in pain she was, I was like, well, if more people are in less pain, feeling less stressed and less anxious and happier and more fulfilled, the world would be better. Because if we think about the ripple effects of our existence, we affect everyone around us. And if we are joyful and fulfilled and excited about life, that spreads. But on the flip side, if we are anxious and stressed and unhappy about life, that also spreads. And so my thesis started pretty simply, which is just, if one person is unhappy and they can make other people unhappy, because I was in that world, I was so easily influenced by whatever was happening as a kid in a very contained environment. It was very simple kid logic. I'm like, if this person is happy, I will be happier. And if they're happier, the other people they interact with will also be happier, not just me. And if I'm happier, I can share that with other people. And so it is that ripple effect. And that was my hypothesis of just, if I can help more people or support more people in finding their joy and their meaning and their fulfillment in this life, then the world will be happier. But indirectly, if more people live their purpose, and it's, like I said, always to help more people than themselves, it's to do good and serve other people, the pure purpose that we're here for, then of course the world will be a better place, because the problems in our world might actually have a chance of being solved. That the pain and suffering in our world might actually have people working on solutions for them. And if each of us in our expression in the world bring joy to other people, it's going to happen just by us showing up. But if we add the layer of purpose and we actually live what we're here to do, then it's just more of us out in the world intentionally and actively trying to support each other. And there's no better future than I can imagine than that, where all of us genuinely are happy and fulfilled in the lives that we're living, wanting to take care and support other people. And so for that reason, I hope anyone who watches this starts to or continues to either clarify or work on investing in realizing their purpose. Because what else are we here to do?